Welcome back, and thank you for staying tuned to Newsmaker Live with me, your host, Laura Japier. In this second segment of Newsmaker Live this evening, we have gentlemen from Wasco. So we're moving from seawater to pipe-borne water. And as we know, water is life, and we're going to be talking exclusively to this gentleman about what exactly is going on with the water situation. I mean, we're living on an island, right? And we're surrounded by water, right? So you're not expecting us to not have water. But as you would have known, we are experiencing drought weather circumstances, and my guests are the ones responsible for our pipe-borne water. So without further ado, let me introduce them to you. Or rather, I should let them introduce themselves, because today I've been having some senior moments. We have with us Mr. Ali
Anthony.
Anthony?
Yes.
Okay, we have Mr. Ali Anthony, and we have Mr. James.
Timothy James.
Timothy James. Introduce yourselves to our viewers, because I have just been on a roll with those senior moments tonight.
Well, I'm Timothy James, Senior Water Services Supervisor. I'm responsible for the management of the network in the North of the island.
Okay.
Ali Anthony, the Senior Manager of Operations. We're responsible for the entire technical arm of Wasco.
So we have some big guns with us, Lucia. So be prepared to ask some serious questions about what the heck is going on with our water. So tell us, I hear that you have some big news for St. Lucia. Let us hear it.
Yes.
You have a choice. Who starts?
Yes, we do have some very important news, some critical news. I would say the most significant is the shutdown that we're going to have on Sunday.
Okay, wait. We're having another shutdown.
Yes.
So you're not here to talk about the shutdown last week?
No, last week that has gone.
That has gone. And was that successful?
It was successful.
Everything went according to plan?
Everything went according to plan. Works finished at a scheduled time. But the thing is, what has happened is that since we repaired all those leaks and the pressure increased in the lines, now you must realize that we are utilizing an old line, a line which has almost like done its time, a line which is not as strong as it's supposed to be. So by increasing the pressure in those lines, you would have some pinholes developing in the line. Now, pinholes progress over time. So what happened after we repaired all those we did last week, we got a fresh one. And this one started small. And within the course of the week, this is like a fountain right now.
Oh, wow. So we're losing water? Is that what you're saying?
We are losing water.
In a situation where we should not be losing water, we should be trying to conserve as much as possible the water that we have.
Yes, we are. Now, we cannot let this thing continue, because this water that we're losing, that could be otherwise made available to consumers. And this is a significantly large leak. So we have to repair this leak, and the only way we can carry out that repair is for a shutdown.
So before we go on to the shutdown, give us some background information as to why this is so important. I mean, over the weeks and months and last couple of years even, we've been hearing a lot about the dam and the silt accumulation over the years, through the various hurricanes and storms and deforestation that has been taking place. Give us a little bit more, a little bit of a history with regard to why it would be so important for us to absolutely repair as those leaks arise.
We are facing a myriad of problems. We are also facing the droughts. Now, production has been reduced as a result of lack of water in the rivers. Our yields have gone down significantly in a lot of places. If I may start with, let's just in Beaufort. Whilst we are experiencing some minor reduction, but not to the point where it actually affects places like Labrie and Beaufort. If we go up to Miko, right? Miko village itself is not affected severely, but you'll have places like Pasias and Deriso. These places have been affected. If we continue going up the coast, we reach in Dennery. Dennery South, they're doing fine, but Dennery North is in a lot of trouble.
So, hold. We're not doing well in Monrepo Pasias.
No.
But we get to Dennery South, and we're doing okay.
Yes. Why?
And then we get to Dennery North, and we're not doing okay. So, what's happening there? Are we using different lines or different sources?
I'll tell you why. Because each of those areas are on different catchments.
Okay.
Different catchments. So you'd have separate catchments, but by reasons of geography, right? You'd have Dennery South being served by a different catchment from Dennery North. Now, Dennery North is being served through the Tomazo intake, and you'd have the Dennery Riviere and La Sorcière intakes. Those are very small intakes, and they have gone down significantly. If we go up further up north, we go to Babono. We have over 40% reduction in yields in Babono. That's why you get one of the most affected areas are the upper elevations of Babono, the plateaus, Pea Bush, the Labons, the Garas, all those areas are being affected. Even if you go through to the John Compton Dam, Castries, Grosile, Moshi, Carolee, Bocage, name it, everywhere is being affected because yields have gone down significantly. We cannot abstract the volume of water that would normally be abstracted from the dam, primarily because we have reduced rainfall and the inflow to the dam has reduced significantly. So this reservoir we have, which is the largest, we have to manage the abstraction from this reservoir. That is one of the reasons why we are actually doing the rationing, just to prolong this storage to take us right through the start of the rainy season, where we can get more water into the reservoir and then being able to distribute it back to the public.
But I heard in a news article this afternoon, I think it was this afternoon, where we're saying that even though we're getting rain, we're not necessarily moving from where we are. We just remaining constant. Why is that?
If you look at the trends, you'll see that the rains, they're only temporary, they're only there for a short period. If you look at the rivers, you'll see no changes in the rivers. These are indicators without somebody telling you if it's doing something positive or not. The river flows have not increased and the rains are only for short periods. If they were for longer periods, then we would have had the yields increase. Once the yields increase, then we can abstract more and distribute more to customers.
Now, my friends from Dominica and Guyana and all those countries, these islands that have real rivers, laugh when I say we have rivers. And when I show them our rivers, they're like, Laura, that's not even a stream. However, my parents and grandparents and all the persons talked about swimming in the river and washing in the river and having a jolly good time in the river. I have never known to have a good time in any river.
Deforestation. Pin it on that. A lot of farming in the catchment areas. I remember when I was a kid growing up, the rivers, they yielded much more water. But with farming and progressing more into the forested areas, they have significantly reduced the amount of forest cover that's necessary to generate those larger yields in the rivers, that amount of water that your parents knew about. This is no more.
So if we know that, I mean, from little girl, I know, okay, deforestation, we have to plant more trees. So we've cut trees to farm. It's decades now. Why haven't we planted trees?
Don't know. This is something that has been preached for as long as I know myself. Plant trees, avoid cutting trees near the rivers. Plant hardwood or long-lasting trees on your farm so that, I mean, it can retain the soil and all that kind of thing, but it just isn't happening. Look at all
Is it that we're not policing that, or we're not? I mean, I would have thought. I mean, that's not your purview. I mean, you're at Wasco, and this is I'm going into Ministry of Agriculture, right? But you would have thought that forestry would have, as a ministry, knowing that every aspect of our lives in St. Lucia, and I would assume other islands, because we basically are the same, would depend on those trees. So why isn't forestry? Why are we not planting those trees ourselves as an initiative from the Ministry of the Forestry Department? I mean, I would have thought, okay, so the farmers are not doing it, but it's affecting Wasco's ability to provide water to the nation. So why isn't that a ministry initiative?
One thing we must also realize is that a lot of those areas are private lands. So if the farmer decides, here, I'm not going to plant any trees, I want to plant bananas and citrus on my farm. Can you tell that farmer, no, plant mahogany, plant...
Yes, we can. Because the government can tax me when I work.
Okay.
One man work, but many people eat, right?
Okay.
Because I have to share my salary with everybody else. Yeah, every month when you work, a portion of that isn't taken for taxes. And so, you're farming, a certain portion of your land should be dedicated, because you're taking from it's like colonialism, right? Britain, we always talk about how Britain took from us, and we want to, what's the word that they use when they want to go back to Africa?
Repatriation.
Right, they want to be repatriated. Yeah, well, guess what? You need to repatriate to Mother Nature and to give off of what you're taking from Mother Nature. So, yeah, I absolutely think that we can demand or dictate, or mandate is the word, not dictate. Mandate that if you're farming and you're going to clear the land to farm, that you're going to have to either not cut off all the trees or replace every tree that you cut off with another one in a strategic, because sometimes those trees are in the way of farming. Hey, I get it. You want to farm so you can feed your family, so that we can be self-sufficient in food and that kind of thing. But hey, you should be able to plant at the perimeters or in strategic locations that will assist with the situation. So I absolutely believe that we can mandate. Just the same way we pass laws to keep people in jail, we can pass laws to ensure that the farmers are responsible. If you do not want to do it one way, you're going to have to do it another way. So,
totally agree. Because we need the trees.
Of course.
Without the trees, we can't
have no water because we have no trees.
And the other thing that we must be cognizant of is climate change. From all the literature, the projections are it's going to get drier. We're going to have higher temperatures. We're going to have shorter but more intense rainfall periods. So if you really think about this, it's the future doesn't really look bright for us.
Okay. So we get that. And so we have a situation where the dam is heavily silted. And when you shut the dam, when the news announcers started talking about all the communities that were affected, that would be affected by the closure of the dam, I went like, OMG, that's like half of St. Lucia. So the dam is very important to us. It's heavily silted. What are we doing with regard to desilting the dam so that, things like the leaks that you're talking about will happen from time to time, age, weathering, and that kind of thing, and we will have to do that. But from the last time I heard, I think a quarter or half of the dam is of the catchment area is silt, so you're not actually capturing as much water. Even if it rained incessantly for weeks on end, we would never be able to harvest the amount of water that we possibly could have because of the silt. Now, a few years ago, a year or more so ago, we had this tax on water or an increase. 66% part of that is for the silting of the dam. What exactly has been done with regard to that? The funds have collected sufficient to undergo the desilting, and what exactly is the plan? Are we able to desilt at all, or is it a situation where we have to maybe discard with that, abandon that dam and build another one? I mean, what exactly is going on with that?
Okay, the dam will be desilted. We have absolutely no choice. It will be desilted. It's a very complex project, okay, and it has to go through a certain process. What we've done so far is that we've completed a study to inform us as to how we go about dealing with that particular problem. Now, the problem is not only siltation in the dam. There's also this problem with the catchment. Catchment is this area, this forested area that feeds into the reservoir. We've had a lot of landslides in there, principally as a result of Hurricane Thomas. Now, because of those landslides, they're in a position where if we get a lot of heavy rain again, they're going to be mobilized and find themselves back into the reservoir. Now, you do not want to execute a job where, okay, you've desilted and you haven't arrested that problem. Because the moment you get that rain, it's as it's in part where we do not want this thing to happen. So the study looked at a holistic approach to that problem. Now, dealing with the catchment, we had to deal with forestry. So a source water protection plan had to be developed. Okay, a rehabilitation of the catchment had to be developed. The study also informed how we go about desilting the reservoir. Okay, there are various methods available, but the best approach is through the use of something called hydraulic suction, where you have a dredge mounted on a pontoon and literally sucks the material out of the dam.
That is mounted on, what did you say?
On a pontoon. It's like a platform on the water.
Okay.
Yes.
Because, that's like speaking Greek. We must remember that not all of us is okay with,
Yeah. So this sucks the material out of the water. Now, for every cubic meter of material that is sucked out, 75% of this thing is water and only 25% solids. So now, how do you now transport this mass from the reservoir to the area where you want to dispose of it? We have to do this with the use of a pipeline instead of putting it on a truck and try to carry this thing. So it's going to be transported from the reservoir to the disposal area via pipeline. This is what the study has informed, and it makes sense. Because the consultants can tell you something, but you now have to assess and find out whether it makes sense or not.
All right.
And we have done our assessment, and we have decided, yes, it makes sense. Now, the disposal area is also going to be an engineered disposal area. This is not something where you just have the material being deposited there, because this material has to be dewatered, solids retained, the water returned to the river, and this has to be done during the periods when we have the water overflowing the spillway.
So that's a huge project.
That's a huge project, and honestly, the most complex part of that project is the disposal area.
Well, yeah, that's a project in and of itself. That's not just part of a project. That's a project in and of itself.
And it's not a project that will be completed in a year, or 2 years, or 3 years, or 4 years.
How many years are we talking about here?
We're talking
about an old and grey.
No. For as long as the dam is in operation, we have to do maintenance dredging. In the initial instance, we have to do some very intense dredging, because the dam itself has 2 ports where we can abstract water. One is covered and one is available. Okay, we're using the only one that's available. But the thing is, there is also this volume of water below the top port which we cannot readily access. But if we free up the bottom port, we can access that top water. So the initial dredging would be intense to free up this bottom port. And this is estimated to take 21 days, well, we just say a month. Okay, now once this is freed, then we have access to that water. So right now we don't have access to it. This is one of the reasons why we had the dual level pump to be placed underwater, because we say in the event that
that was the pump that we had.
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
Right.
yes, yes.
So that's in operation. That's good. That's sorted.
It's what we intended to do last week was to place a valve that would enable the use of that pump. And the only way we could have done that was because we had to shut down. So we did all that. We have that valve there. We're working now on final bits on stabilizing it so that we can use it in the event that the water goes below that top pot. We can use that pump to pump into the system. Okay. Whilst the bottom one is still covered.
So that pump is a contingency plan?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Now, let's take a break. When we come back, you'll tell us more about that contingency plan and what exactly we can expect from you guys on Sunday.
Okay.
We'll be right back.